Hey there, everybody. This is Kristin from Teaching Balance, and I'm here with you with this week's mindfulness meditation practice. And we are now in the month of June, and our theme for June is holding space. And as I described last week, this is a little bit more abstract than some of the more obvious themes that we often explore each month. But the idea of holding space does have this quality of actually what just occurs to me now is almost creating a bit of a crucible when you think of, like, not the play of course, but the idea of a crucible being that little ceramic bowl that if you're doing chemistry experiments or whatever it might be, hello to my science peeps out there, that this is where alchemical change can occur. And so when you think of when you add heat and that changes things, and molecular structure can be altered, et cetera, et cetera. And in the more kind of esoteric conceptual realm, when we use terms like alchemical, it can also be not so literal, but this idea of change and transformation that can occur when we hold the space and do apply whatever needs to be applied, or just hold it for whatever needs to happen naturally to happen. And so I hadn't thought about expressing it that way until that very moment. But nonetheless, that is kind of what we're talking about. It's about holding space for, like we did last week, being able to have that moment of self-inquiry, like, what is it that I need? And then we really didn't talk about it last week at the end, but the idea then is, for whatever arises, then you're also holding the space for it to occupy. Meaning, if what arose for you is that you need to invite in, for example, a little more playfulness or lightness or joy or pleasure or whatever. I mean, there's so many possibilities. Then going forward and holding the space for that, because it's become clear that this is something that you need. And if it needs to be present in your life, either in terms of your internal state of mind or in choices that you make and what you do in your life, perhaps it wasn't happening to the degree that you are thinking that it needs to happen, and therefore it might require a little more conscious attention on your part to hold the space for it to occur. Okay, so that's one way to think about that. Now, for our focus this week, what I'd like to do is explore still this idea of self-inquiry, and less of it being about maybe what you need regarding what you're inviting in or what you want more of, and instead taking a little time to acknowledge and explore what it is that you need to release or let go of. And so we will work that in, like we did last week, to the latter part of our practice together. But the idea is just around, it's been a year. It's been a year plus. It's been rough. And even if you did not necessarily experience the depth and breadth of challenges that so many people did, you still did to some degree. And so we have all been through it. We all probably are carrying with us a lot of residual emotions and all of the mental habits that are associated with them. And so the idea behind what we're going to do today is allowing ourselves to have a little bit of clarity about what those may be, and to begin to be willing to release or let them go. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. And I might interrupt you guys a little bit sooner than I did last week. It was about a 4-minute practice, that latter part. But I think I'm going to come in a little bit sooner and talk a little bit less about posture and all of that, at least for this week. So if you haven't already, closing your eyes or lowering your gaze, finding that meditation posture that feels right to you. And if you haven't already, allowing yourself to invite in some of those deeper slower, longer breaths. And remembering then that deep breathing is always available to you. If you ever want to go back to it throughout your practice or at any point throughout your day, it's very grounding and comforting and helps us to drop into our bodies a little bit more. So as we continue in this first part, our traditional meditation, the one prompt I'll offer you is to see if you can just drop a little bit more into your body. So instead of being that floating thought bubble above your head, planning, anticipating, etc., come back down into your head and even more so below the chin. Reside more fully in this physical shell, this magical physical way that you exist in this world. And even if you prefer to rest your attention on the breath or sounds, just take a moment to really feel what it feels like to be in your skin right now. Feeling gravity, feeling your clothing, the support of whatever you're resting your body on. So I'm going to keep the prompts very minimal until that second part today. Just remembering to have a quality of lightness, gentleness. Don't put pressure on yourself. So let's sit for a while together. So as I check in with where the mind is now, if you find yourself resisting the interest in this holding space, peace, feel free to just keep doing what you're doing. You can pause the video, And just keep going with your traditional meditation if you'd like to. But wherever your mind is, if you're interested in this more guided piece at the end, we're going to do a little bit of that self-inquiry. And while I may offer you questions formed in one way, if you want to change them in any way for your own needs, always feel free to do that. So we're going to open up this self-inquiry. We're going to hold space for the question, which is, what do I need to let go of? Just noticing what arises. It might be just one word or a more complete sentence, and it might also just be images. And if nothing's really coming up for you, which can happen, just allow yourself to rest in this moment and be willing to receive whatever may come up, even if it's not doing so in a particularly timely manner. It may come to you after we're done. It may come to you later today or tomorrow. Once again, posing that question to that inner wisdom part of yourself. What do I need to release right now? What do I need to let go of? Or at least set down for a while? Continuing to allow yourself to receive and also change that inquiry in any way that you feel is appropriate for you. But the general idea is this concept of letting go, setting down, releasing. There's all sorts of ways to phrase it. And of course, those could be habits, thought patterns, problematic relationships, looser boundaries. It can go lots of different directions. So let's just hold on to whatever continues to arise, making note, just allowing yourself to be present to and hold the space for whatever comes up until that final bell. And as always, if you want to keep this going, feel free to pause the video or stop the video and just continue with this inquiry. But at this point, Assuming that you're done, coming back into the room, looking around. And for this practice, and even last week's practice where you were doing that self-inquiry about just what do you need, essentially that one is almost more about what do you need to invite in, perhaps, although it might not have gone that way. And this week is more about what do you need to let go of. It's kind of this releasing. Just allowing yourself to make note of that. And if you're the type of person that likes to write things down, which I am one of those people, whenever it's convenient for you, when we're done here, just allow yourself to jot it down. Even if it's just for the week, it's on your calendar, it's on a sticky note. Just as a gentle reminder to yourself, because as I said in the previous part, if something did come up that you realize it would be to your benefit to release, but you haven't, now the next step is to hold the space for that release to occur. And that might be just being a little bit more self-aware when you slip into that habit or that mental pattern, or you find yourself in that external circumstance in the world, just to kind of revisit what this need was that was expressed so that you can continue to hold the space for that shift to occur. That's the best way I think I can describe it with relative quality of succinctness. So, as always, thank you so much for taking this time for yourself, and thank you for allowing me to accompany you on this journey. And I will see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.